Hey guys, I totally forgot to vlog today. It's almost 4 o'clock and I left work. I stopped at the feed store on my way here to pick up some hay for Prince. I'm with Mia. I'm letting her eat a little bit of her dinner while I clean her stall because apparently stalls didn't get cleaned today for whatever reason. So I'm cleaning that before I ride, and we're gonna have a dressage school today. So that'll be fun. Hopefully I won't die. Well, let's just say I'm in a really crappy mood right now because I tried riding Mia and she was just in that case, and I could tell she was in the mood where any amount of lunging wasn't going to change that. So I went ahead and pulled her saddle off immediately, and then I went and grabbed my long lines. Although, come on, I'm lunging her right now. Anyhow, well, they're not really long lines, but it's very similar to those stretchy bungees people use to ride and lunge, but I don't use it the way they say to do. It's a method called bitting under. So basically you attach the clips to the bit rings, and then both like lines go between the front legs, and then they go straight upwards to the withers on each side and like tie at the withers, and you can adjust it. So if they are pulling against themselves, they're pulling, well, like, I mean, if they are pulling into the training aid, they're pulling onto themselves, but you have to be careful not to do it too tight or to not get any rubs. So that's what I'm doing, and a lot of people use it to help the horse work over their back, similar to a Pessoa system of lunging. So I'll flip it around and show you right now. Yeah, so basically you clip it to the bit, it's called bitting under, and then it passes between the front legs and goes up to the withers and tying. She's just getting out a lot of energy, and then I'm gonna loosen it some. But yeah, you can see it's actually a little bit on the short side. This is the shortest I would ever do it, and you have to be careful because some horses, they do not like bitting under short, so you have to be careful that they don't want to go up and back. So just be aware, and it can develop bad habits if you're not careful. But like I said, yeah, see, she's in a mood and she just wants to explode and go everywhere. So what I'm doing here is just having her give into the bit, work through her back. I'm making her work a little bit harder, even though she's a little bit strung out here. But once she calms down, then I'm going to loosen it, and I can do that by adjusting the tie at the top and giving her more of a length so she could stretch better into her work. But I've only been lunging for less than a minute, and I'm already just about ready to loosen it for her. But like I said, this is like the shortest I would ever have it. And I don't like using those bungee thingies. I'm just saying the line I use, I think it's technically draw reins, but I don't like draw reins, I won't use them. But I bought a cheap pair of draw reins just to use in this purpose. So like I said, you just attach each clip to the bit ring, pass it between the front legs and tie it to the top. This is a good method if you don't have a lot of lunging equipment to work with, like if you didn't have a surcingle. I chose this over using my surcingle today because I wanted to pass it through her under, like between her legs up to the top, just because she was being so rude about giving to the bit today, just wanting to pull and take off and spin and just react. But you can see how she's already starting to calm down. So I'm gonna ask her to walk. Mia, walk. Mia, hey girl, walk. And now I'm gonna loosen it, and I'll show you the difference it makes. Okay, so I went ahead and loosened it quite a bit. You can see how she's able to stretch down more. Easy girl. She's still like kind of hyper. Anyhow, you want to make sure you don't do it so loose that they can get a leg caught. So if they do want to stretch down like all the way to the ground, encourage them to pick up their head a little bit, but I do want some stretch, just not that much. So basically my philosophy on lunging is do as little lunging as you possibly can. Multiple circles on a horse is not the best for their joints, to be honest, and it's kind of like jumping. Your horse only has so many jumps in them. If you jump them every day, they're just gonna deteriorate that much faster. Anyhow, so I try to keep lunging to the minimum. I don't like tying horses down tight, whether it be side reins, sliding side reins, reins over the saddle, under the stirrups, that deal, or even bitting under. I find that certain situations require different lunging aids. Come on, good girl. And different ways to attach the lunge line to the bit. But so my idea as far as attaching equipment, as far as tightness, is like I said before, that tightness was the absolute tightest, and that's only on very, very rare occasions like today. But normally I like to keep it on the looser side. I don't ever want to force the horse into a frame for like every second, kind of like draw reins. So imagine you had draw reins tight, you're forcing that horse into that frame. Here, I'm making it so it's loose when she's in the proper desired frame, but when she's even above a little bit, she still has a little bit of looseness. So if she goes too far above, then she bumps into the whatever, the bidding under thing. She runs into the rope. And then it's just a gentle reminder to be like, hey, you gotta come down a little bit. So you can see when she just gets a little bit tired or whatever, and she pops the head up, even though it's still loose underneath, you can see it's just a gentle reminder. So I never tighten anything so that the horse's head is on the vertical. I always do it a little bit looser than that, just so, like, if she's going around with her head up, like, I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna force her into anything. I'm kind of against that. So like I said, this right here is her ideal length, in my opinion, for what I like. But you can see, even though it's loose, she is encouraged to stretch down. And everyone has their own opinions. Different things work for different horses, like whatever, you know, things work. She's getting tired. And now it's time to switch direction. But Mia, come on. I did not tell you to stop. See, and I just totally got distracted because I'm vlogging. So anyhow, I have done a lot of lunging and lunge training as far as like her. There's several horses I have taught to lunge that didn't know how to lunge before. I can lunge experienced horses. I've done all of that in Pony Club. I'm a beach traditional, so I've had to lunge in front of national examiners and all that. And yeah, so I don't know, if you know Pony Club, then you kind of know the requirements you have to go through. So I do know quite a bit about lunging and all the different attachments, the different methods. I prefer to parallel lunge, if you know what that means. But yeah, I guess if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll answer them. But like I said, like, no critique, this is how I like to do it. Everyone likes to do it differently. I don't, oh, neck stretcher, that's what it's called. Those bungee thingies, that's called a neck stretcher. You can ride and lunge in them. I personally do not like those because in order for them to be effective, they have to always have tension, and I don't want a lunging aid to have constant tension. I want there to be looseness and give when they stretch. All right, now I'm gonna ask her to walk. Mia, and walk. Good girl. So I just switched direction and Mia wants to canter. So you can see it's still pretty loose, like I haven't changed it, and she just bumped into it and remembered to pop back down. She's a little bit on the forehand, so as far as cantering, this isn't the ideal lunging aid for her to canter. It encourages her to be a little bit too much on the forehand. So for lunge work with her, I would say something more along the lines of a Pessoa system would be good, or maybe even standard side reins or sliding side reins. But I think the desired effect for her to get her stepping under the canter would be a Pessoa. But this method is definitely good for trot work, but it doesn't necessarily give her an uphill trot. This is more of just a stretch and to work the hind end, even though she's a little bit quick, a little bit on the forehand, and trailing her hind end a little bit. But this is a good brain exercise to stretch her back. But like I said, she isn't in the exact, like, perfect so-called frame. And in order to get that, you really need something more of a Pessoa. I try to use the Pessoa sparingly just because it is one of those aids that is more constant pressure forcing, but it does have a give if your horse does do the desired stretch. So I do use it on occasion. It just depends on what I'm working with that day, all those things. See, now I think she's just getting bored. You can see how she pokes her head up and then bumps into the rope and then relaxes back down. So it's exactly what we want. And I can influence her gait by the whip and the lunge line. I'll try to show you what I mean. I don't have a whip right now because I totally forgot one, but I can show you on the line how I can influence her to move forward a little bit more. So I'm shortening the lunge and bringing her in on a slightly smaller circle. That will naturally get her to move back onto her butt and bend a little bit more. But let's see if I can do this with one hand. All right, so I'm asking her to pick her head up, and I'm asking her to bend. Let's see, right there. So see how I asked her for a half halt on the lunge? Half halt without stopping. I'll see if I can get her more on her haunches. Let's see. Sorry, I'm kind of losing light here. Easy. So now I'm giving it indirect. There we go. That's a little bit better. So she's stepping through right there, a little bit better. I mean, she's not in the perfect frame, but I honestly don't care about that. I care about more if she's moving from back to front versus just landing on the front end. But like I said, if I'm just lunging to get energy out, that's quite a bit different than working her body and her muscles. Like right now, it started off working her body and just keeping her really contained because she just wanted to explode. And now it's working about, I'm working on getting her body more adjustable and strengthening the hind end. And then now that she's calmed down enough to listen to me, since I switched directions, I'm asking her to work on strength building and to step underneath herself. So we end with building the butt and less on the forehand, if that makes sense. I hope it does. I'm sorry if you guys can't see. So now I'm gonna ask her for another half halt. There. So she tends to do half halt and then stretch down. Half halt, stretch down. So you can see after the half halt, she doesn't really want to hold that hind end engagement very well. She just wants to stretch and then go back on the forehand. So that's where it's hard for me as a rider to keep her going forward. But it's really nice to practice half halting and moving forward on the lunge because it's a lot easier for me to see what's going on. Easy, Mia. Ooh, good girl. Easy. And talk to your horses a lot and make your cues like really noticeable and audible for your horse. Keep them very consistent in what you ask. Don't delay with praise. You're not going to hear a lot of my cues or my praise this time just because I am vlogging it. But yeah, I guess today's vlog turned into a lunging vlog. That's so funny. Sorry guys. A lunging vlog that you can only like see half of. Alright, so that's good for her. Let's see if I can get one more engagement step. Let's see. Right there. Yep, right there. And walk. Good girl. Whoop. Whoop. Good girl, Mia. You ended up very good today. Well, once again, it's dark. Well, yeah, basically. And I'm walking on Moretto. I have to go, he's kind of dirty-ish. I have to go put on Mia's blanket. I was just letting her cool off from lunging. He's so cute. He's kind of hyper actually. So I'm just gonna finish walking him, put his blanket on and Mia's blanket on and head home. I might be going to the Navy Exchange again tonight. I'm not sure. Depends on if I can get home in time. And then after that, I'll have to drop the hay off at my grandpa's house.